In this piece, this video piece, I'm going to be speaking about prayer time and some of the things that kind of follow on connected to that. So when I work with the group, and of course in families, you would want to have prayer time together. So what I have is scripture passages isolated that are especially about the nonviolence in some way. All of the marks are decorated or in a, it's kind of color coded. So this one is about in the Garden of Gethsemane when Peter struck, one of the disciples struck out and was going to cut off the ear of the servant. So each of these, all of these scriptures have a violent focus. I think it's very important to have a whole Bible available for the children. Of course, we would focus most on the New Testament, especially if the child is young, after the age of 9, maybe dipping into some of the passages in the Old Testament that help us know a little bit more about Jesus, like the suffering servant. But we also have a chart that has these same gospel passages in a chart form. And I bring this up because gathering for prayer is important. And the child being able to take the lead in organizing the prayer is very good for the child. The adult has to prepare materials and the environment in such a way so that it's easy for the child to lead the prayer. You can make a list of the elements that your prayer will have. Will there be singing? And then details about who chooses the song, how many verses, who starts it. Will there be silence? Who starts the silence? How is it started? Who breaks the silence? So any different element that you would want in your prayer time, reading scripture, who's going to read it, who's going to select the passage, and if the children can take charge and make that happen, that's it's very uplifting and confidence building in the child. So the chart is on the website. Scripture passages are on the website that you can download and use. One of the things that goes with this is copying quotes from Scripture. So one student did this work. We have a light box in our space and lined paper and blank paper. So the lined paper goes behind the blank, the source material is close by, and that way the child can have a very nice presentation, nicely done piece of work, decorated, something they're going to be proud of that will kind of go with them through their life. So we can do things to facilitate the prayer time and paperwork that's a kind of a reminder of the prayer times. Another way to focus this is to use this calendar. It's a chart of births and deaths of all the nonviolent followers. So this is kind of obvious when whatever date you're on, check out if there's a nonviolent follower that's close to that date, and maybe let that person be a focus. Maybe that person's story can be read, or the picture displayed and the object that tells the story, or a quote from that person copied in beautiful handwriting and decorated. So again, we want to facilitate the prayer time, the reflective time, the getting to know the persons, these people at a kind of an intimate, personal level. In the website is also some songs. These I went to the Bruderhof. The Bruderhof is worth looking up on the internet. It's a community started by Emmy and Eberhard Arnold, who are one of the one of the couples that we feature in the curriculum. They gave permission for me to use these on the website. They're about peace. The children can sing them. The community still exists. It was started in the early 30s, had to move because of fleeing persecution. but there's still, I think, 2,000 or 3,000 members in the community throughout the world, and in small communities of about 250. Once they get bigger than that, they break off and start a new location. So they gave permission for these songs. They're a peace-oriented group in their history, and it's worth getting to know them a little bit anyways and using their songs. So these are on the website. We also have, I believe I have some prayers on the website. If I don't, let me know and I will get them to you. Canticle of the Sun, which is attributed to St. Francis, Father McCarthy's content. Some from Camden, New Jersey, where they've had a kind of rough inner city living. So multiple decorated prayers that make it easy for the child to set up and follow through on prayer times. Over the internet, I found a song written about Saint Martin of Tours. Martin of Tours is someone we don't have as one of our people, but he's worth getting to know. So I think this beginning part is about Martin. He was a soldier who was out in the cold, saw a cold person, stopped, got off his horse, cut his cloak in half, gave half to the cold person. Later that night, I believe he had a vision of Christ. His heart changed. He laid down his weaponry. He stopped being a soldier, and he lived the nonviolent way. So I might be doing a kind of quick or rough version of his life. Martin of Tours is worth getting to know. I'm not sure if this second portion, and this might be up on the internet, in my website, is words that I put to the same tune, so that you can continue the song and bring out more fully the nonviolent piece of his life. He's known for taking care of the cold person, but a lot of contemporary comments about him don't add that he laid down his weaponry. So we want to include that piece. And so his feast day is November 11th, and I'm sure you can find content from him on the internet. But again, it's about bringing song to the prayer time and doing the best we can with that. Connected to this is, I'll show the booklets just in this way, through here like this. These are available by contacting me, and they help us go deeper in the story. They help us to notice things about their life that we can bring to prayer. For example, if we struggle with not being jealous, we can notice who in these stories had that same issue going on, who was concerned about the poor, like Mother Teresa and Dorothy Day, who was concerned about racial injustice, like Martin Luther King Jr. There's all sorts of connecting points that comes through the stories that we can bring back to prayer, that we can focus on, that help us flesh out living the nonviolent way. Along with the booklets, I now include another booklet that I wrote on the ordinary person as a nonviolent follower of Jesus. It's a mirror on the cover, as if when we look in the mirror, are we seeing a nonviolent person? Are we seeing someone who's trying to live that way? So basically this tells us that to be famous, all sorts of particular events have to fall into the exact place. And most people are not famous, but most people are still, everyone, if you're Christian, is called to live the nonviolent way. And so making that commitment, struggling and persevering with that, makes you a nonviolent follower of Jesus. The ordinary person is meant to be a nonviolent follower of Jesus. So that comes now with the booklets. Along with the individual booklets, we have a one volume. It's the exact same content. It's just put in one volume, especially for older children. Little younger children, it's good to have more of the movement back and forth to pick up individual booklets, but older kids might need to have a single volume, just so you know that that's available. Here's a booklet that I consider important when I think about prayer time because of what it says. So I'm going to turn the pages and we're going to just look at it. Christianity's Sacred Places. A woman in her room, a man collecting sulfur from a sulfur mine, a young couple strolling, a young man, handicapped, enjoying his donkey, a mother and baby, not of a Western culture, a dying street person, some people with their camels, an older man looking right at the camera. It looks like a woman doing laundry or dyeing cloth by the river. Another man smiling. A girl, I think of Mennonite or Hutterite tradition, playing baseball. And the words, the radical sacred is the human person. There and there alone God dwells. That's important, obviously, to the materials, to taking to prayer, and to helping your child understand. Connected to Scripture is this little booklet on Agape. Now, I learned Agape, what Agape was, through Father Emmanuel Charles McCarthy. His retreats, which are available, some are available in his website, centerforchristiannonviolence.org. Some are available through a YouTube channel under his name, Emmanuel Charles McCarthy. Some are available if you, in YouTube, type in Gospel Nonviolence and look for the yellow and black Agnus Dei. His early retreats are there. So that's where I learned this content, and I take it directly from his content about what is Agape. Basically, Agape has 2 or 3 parts. The willingness to serve without the desire for reciprocation, the willingness to suffer without the desire for retaliation, and some people add a third, the willingness to forgive without the desire for domination. So here I talk about it at a level that children can understand. That's the attempt anyways. And then I put in, towards the end, some quick little examples, like a child on a playground. And so that's available on the website for you to use and print if you'd like. And I bring it up because it's based completely in Jesus' way of loving, which we come to through Scripture. Another work that I have, another set of materials that I have, which is for older kids and adults benefit from this, is troublesome Scripture passages. So for example, that quote that Jesus has, that saying that Jesus says, sell your cloak and buy a sword. What is really meant by that? Well, inside, it's simply several different Scripture scholars who've spoken about it. So all of these scriptures, all these troublesome Scripture passages, when the centurion asked Jesus to heal his servant, there's no greater love than to lay down your life for your friends, which many people take as the willingness to go to the military to protect your friends. All of these have in the past been used to justify violence And all of that justification of violence is a misinterpretation of what the scripture passage is meant to say. So we put that out for adults and children for greater understanding of that. The last booklet here is something on the biographies of the people that I'm quoting in that, so that you can see that these are legitimate, top-level scripture scholars. So troublesome scripture passages has to be dealt with. And I believe one more piece for this. Once in a while, it might be good for the children to do some kind of hands-on activity. With prayer time, flower arranging is a good work for the children. They picking flowers, maybe growing flowers, and because they know they're going to be having prayer times and wanting to decorate. So finding ways for the children to have hands-on activities to balance out the intensity of the paperwork and the content. This is simply a cutout with strips of tissue paper glued on the back, filling in the space, put with a battery-operated tea light. It's really quite pretty. And the kids can, these are all something that children can do themselves. This came up because for Martin and Tours, there's a celebration common in some parts of the world for Martin and Tours where you make lanterns and go outside carrying your lanterns in the dark and singing, and then coming in and have something like donuts and cider together. So some small handcrafts fleshes out the prayer time.